We are at Clinica Zaragoza, a reproductive health clinic in Tondo, Manila, to meet the founder of Likhaan Center for Women's Health, Dr. Junice Melgar. We talk about motherhood and empowering underprivileged communities, particularly through reproductive health services. She's known as the family planning and reproductive health Wonder Woman in her field. The 61-year-old health advocate began working on women-centered community-based health programs in urban poor communities in 1989. As co-coordinator of the Gabriela Commission on Women's Health and Reproductive Rights, she founded Likhaan Center for Women's Health in 1995, creating innovative community-based women's health programs by organizing and training women in slum areas as community health workers and advocates.
This is one of 7 clinics of Likhaan. This is a catchment area of 70,000. Really poor women, no? Some of them coming from the slums of Paseco. And they come here mainly for maternal care, prenatal, even delivery, but also for family planning. So 85 to 90% of the women that you see here are here because they want to plan their family. Women also fear the unknown when we are about to deliver. It's a scary thing, no? Because you don't know if you could survive the complications.
Yeah. She's renowned internationally as an advocate of gender, sexual and reproductive health and human rights in laws and policies. We begin with a quick tour of Likhaan's busiest clinic. So when did you move here to this
2011.
location? Okay.
And because we wanted to enroll in PhilHealth, it had to be a bigger space. So it can accommodate even emergency beds like this. No?
So this is complete, you have everything here.
For maternity. If you are a pregnant woman about to deliver, the delivery room is inside.
So this is a recovery area.
This is where the mother who delivered recovers. But of course, even before she delivers, she's here.
Waiting.
Waiting, no, during labor. But the delivery room is here. So ito yon, and that is the giant sterilizer donated by Justin Trudeau. Yeah.
And he visited here, no?
He was here in November.
Yes, because they are funded, Global Affairs Canada
is funding this. Yes.
Junice has trained community women and youth leaders and NGO reproductive health providers on gender, sexuality, and reproductive health and rights. She's been empowering underprivileged communities for 23 years. It's a tough job, but one that brings her utmost fulfillment. You're like a mother to your staff and the women here who come to the clinics.
That's a new term for me, you know. And I hear that a lot, but I've always felt I was not a mother enough, no. But so that's very comforting to hear. But Likhaan has been running clinics since 1995. And we started with just pure women's clinics. We used to handle tuberculosis, hypertension, etc. Until we found out that most of the consultations of women are for either maternal care or family planning. And so we focused eventually on reproductive health. And now we have 7 clinics. And the clinic here is the 4th clinic. We wanted eventually to have this clinic services accredited by PhilHealth.
It's interesting to see men there too, so fathers are taking an active role, it seems, also.
Oh yes, we encourage that because we want men to feel how difficult being pregnant and delivering and how dangerous that can be for women, no? So that men can start being responsible, not just for their own health, but for health of the women whose lives can be at risk because of unintended or unplanned pregnancy.
And it's also quite challenging. For example, when you started, contraception was really a no-no around here, no? You had a big
in Manila, yes,
challenge.
This was the time of Mayor Atienza, and he virtually banned family planning in all of Manila. So the government was not providing services. We were monitoring from outside that women would hide their family planning supplies, their pills, in their notebooks. And that's why people were calling, ano, contraband na ba? Talagang illegal na ba ang family planning, that people are so threatened, di ba? We had like an organizer in Manila na pinaligiran daw siya ng mga police ng city because she was giving a sexuality education. So that was how scared people were. And the pregnancy rates were very high. Aside from those, may mga abortions, no? Mataas ang bilang ng abortions. And therefore, we pleaded actually with Manila, with Mayor Lim eventually. So Mayor Lim was the one who allowed us here. When there was no family planning in Manila, 2009.
Yes. So we're seeing, although the youth continue to have, their teen pregnancies, but the number of kids per woman seems to decrease, no?
Yes. In Manila, talagang we saw that in 4 years, the adolescent fertility rate declined by 10 points. The adolescent pregnancy in the slum areas are very much, mga 3 times higher than the national average. So I think government, NGOs should really come here and help with the problem.
Yes. More than ever, your work is really important. But you didn't even think you'd become a doctor. I want to ask you about your journey to come here, because your mother was a doctor. You grew up in Likhaan.
My mother was a GP, and she would have so many patients every day, and she would have calls at night, no? So I would just hear the dogs barking, and I would know, oh my God, that's my mom again.
Trabaho pa rin sina.
Oo, sinan yan, tatawag na naman yan. And therefore, I was not excited about the prospects of a medical career. My mother was busy all the time in the clinic. My father would just come home and teach me softball, so I developed a love for sports. We would have so many books. So talagang ang lawak ng mundo ng tatay ko, no? But in high school, I got exposed to a dorm mate of mine who was an activist. Eventually went underground and introduced a group of us to the Kabataang Makabayan. So we would sneak out at night and join the discussions there. I was introduced to Renato Constantino. So he became really my idol. After high school, I thought I would go into sociology in Diliman. And then I didn't know that my sister changed my application. My sister, who was ahead of me 4 years, was in
Medical.
UP Med at that time. Changed the application so that I would have more liberty now. In case I would decide later on to pursue medicine, then it's better that I could go into sociology, psychology, or whatever. But then I would still have that option. And then in pre-med, I met Jaime Galvestan, who is now a friend, a very dear friend of ours, was the student regent that welcomed us in 1973. And I remember he spoke at the convocation in UP. And he had his stethoscope, and he was talking about how they were giving services to flood victims. I said, mukha palang fun, di ba? And serve at the same time.
During martial law under the Marcos administration, Junice Melgar joined the underground movement while she was in medical school.
We would be enrolled as medical students, but we were running community-based health programs where we would be training community health workers, helping with, this was in Tondo, in Barrio Magsaysay, which is a slum area. So we would help out with their problems. But of course, as part of the underground, you were already part of a revolutionary movement that was dissatisfied with the slow reforms and wanted drastic changes, structural changes. And I believe that for a while, that was very necessary. I think the revolutionary movement showed me how poor many of our country men and women.
You actually saw it for yourself.
I never thought that it could be so dire. So I was underground from medicine until I dissociated from the movement in 1992. I met my husband in the underground. I was not planning at all.
Definitely not planned that. That was a nice surprise.
Hindi talaga plano. He's very much younger than I am. I probably was 30 when we got married. And so I had our first and only baby at 31.
Yeah. What was it like then, the demands on a woman? You were still very busy with your career.
I got pregnant when we were assigned to Iloilo. And my husband was arrested twice in Iloilo. That's when I stopped having clinics, and I was teaching before. I had to stop. They call it full-time underground work. I had a very difficult pregnancy. I would have difficulty eating. I would be vomiting. He turned out a big baby, 10 pounds. And then when he came out, after so many hours, talagang he was not crying. His head was talagang elongated. My mom had to revive him first. And then when she came back to me, parang yung uterus ko yata ay, yung placenta ko ayaw lumabas. Mga 30 minutes na yata. And then I noticed my blood pressure was dropping. I was bleeding heavily. I lost consciousness. I just found out later, mga 3 days later.
Yeah.
I forgot everything. I even forgot that I had given birth.
What?
Oh, talaga.
Wow, that was what an experience. But your son basically took after you. He's now pursuing community development.
Yes, it was a long journey for him.
Yeah, and you exposed him to your. He would join you on these some of your
he
work
would
trips.
join, but he never showed interest actually. No? He would go.
And you didn't force him to, did you? You never tried to encourage him.
Knowing the kind of life we had.
Yeah.
Yung talagang it should be voluntary naman on his part.
Yeah.
Engineering ako dati sa UP, so I jumped around from course to course. They never pushed me. My nanay ko rin, she never pushed me to a specific course. So yung gusto ko nga sa kanya is she made me make mistakes so I could learn from them. So I think that was a privilege that I had that I know that other children don't have. Register sa akin na she was kind of a big deal in the world of NGOs nung pati ako nakikilala by virtue of being associated with her. Personally, hindi ko kilala yung mga tao pero kilala nila ako dahil nanay ko si Doktora. For women in particular, no? Women empowerment, reproductive health, ang daming positive effects ng trabaho.
We get to meet some of the women Junice and her Likhaan team have been helping for many years. So this is one of your consultation rooms?
Yes, this is one of 3 consultation rooms, and we're looking at the room of Joselle. This is Joselle, our midwife.
Hi, Joselle.
And she's going to do an implant insertion in one of patients. She's the one who has 5 children, no, already. And wants to stop.
Ayaw mo na magkaanak. Bakit?
8 years old na po yung bunso ko.
8 years old ang bunso. So tama na. Ayaw mo na talaga. Ba't mo naisip ayaw mo na? Hirap.
Mayroon pong mga anak.
Oo.
Buti nga may ganito eh.
Dulce Panaligan, 43 years old.
Ilan na pong anak niyo?
5 po. Yung panganay ko, nung wala pa itong Likhaan, ano na yun, 27. Sumunod yun sa akin, 25. Tapos yung sunod, 21. Tapos yung pang-apat, 12. Tapos 8 years old. Ngayon, kung dadagdagan ko pa, pag nagkasakit, hindi na. Mapapagaya sila sa amin na hindi nakapag-aral.
Anong masasabi niyo sa Likhaan? Anong klaseng tulong na nabibigay?
Malaki po na itulong kasi ang katulad ko na talagang hindi ko na gustong manganak. Hindi ko kailangang isipin na baka magbuntis ako, lagi akong kakabaka mababuntis na naman. At alam kong yung paglaki nila, maibigay namin yung kaya namin.
Malaking tulong po talaga sila sa amin simula nung nag-asawa ako hanggang ngayon po. Talagang tipid po kami sa gastos sa family planning. Tapos yung nanganak ako, talagang wala po kaming ginastos. Hanggang ngayon po, nag-implant po ako ulit, wala po talaga akong ginastos.
We get to know the 61-year-old women's health advocate, Dr. Junice Melgar, with a quick round of questions. What makes you angry?
When the work comes short of my expectation, I really get mad.
What makes you laugh?
Corny jokes.
What is your biggest fear?
Maybe disability.
Favorite book?
Any book by Oliver Sacks.
Name your favorite cities in the country.
Zamboanga. Aurora.
What's the most stressful part of your work?
Stressful part is planning.
What do you do to de-stress?
Binge watching, Game of Thrones, Law and Order, yes.
Oh, I like those too. What is the biggest challenge for you as a mother?
Breaking stereotypes. Because really, I am not a motherly type. I flunked my home economics, for God's sake.
And what's the best thing about being a mother?
My family, my husband, my son, and my sisters, my siblings.
Junice counts her Likhaan Center for Women's Health staff and beneficiaries among her extended family. She finds most fulfillment working with the urban poor communities, whom she says are the heart and soul of Likhaan.
Because there are areas that government does not reach effectively. So kahit slum areas in Metro Manila, very close to the Department of Health, very close to national government, could even tend to be neglected, no? So maraming mga poor areas that actually need the services, not just of doctors, midwives, nurses, anyone that you can mobilize actually to do health.
For Likhaan, there are lots of requests for you to establish clinics in other places. You just opened one in Samar.
In Hiporlosa.
Yeah, so tell us about any future plans or what's next for Likhaan.
Yes, there are many requests actually, because actually women probably feel that a lot of the general clinic don't respond to women's specific health problems in the ways that women deserve and need, no? For example, violence against women. A lot of clinics do not recognize violence women as presenting. For example, pag nagpunta ang nanay for family planning, sa amin talaga yan, may screening yan, may identification, baka biktima ito ng maybe frequent pregnancies are the product of violence at home. So much as we want actually to respond to those requests, we have to do it very carefully because we need to make sure that we are sustainable. Yes. So PhilHealth as of now is the main mechanism that could grant clinics, no? We are trying very hard to be accredited, but we also encourage women's groups to have clinics on their own and have those accredited by PhilHealth for birthing, for family planning, and eventually for other services. And to have their women enrolled in PhilHealth.
You talk about how much you really find fulfillment in working with these poor communities by providing services, and you give them a voice also.
And educating them. The community health workers are educating them and empowering them for themselves.
You seem you're so happy in all this. You're persisting. Are you going to retire from this?
Yeah, my body is telling me actually. No, my hair is telling me. Yeah. But I think it's very important that we have first liners, second liners, no? So we have a management committee that has been working with us, some of them as long as 23 years. They know exactly how it's run. You have young people actually giving new blood to Likhaan with their ideas that were never part of my mindset. Ibang-iba talaga.
Iba na kasi ang panahon na ngayon.
Iba. And the communities, of course, are very diverse. So it's very good that we have many people. We have like 78 staff now from a core of 13 when we all founded. 13 of us founded Likhaan.
Yes.
Bait po si doktora. Malawak din yung yung pasensya, pero pag nagalit po talaga siya, talaga pong hindi siya nakikiming pagalitan kami para po matuwid kami. Masipag po yan, talagang kapag kapunta kami sa community, hindi mo makikita sa kanya na mataas siya sa amin. Talagang tumutulong po siya. Tumutulong po siya sa gawain, nagbibit-bit po yan ng mga kung anong kailangan sa community. Sumasama po si doktora sa mga outreach. Nagagalit din po yan kapag kami bilang mga babae na na-abuse ng asawa. Nagagalit din po siya sa asawa namin. So talagang gusto niyang makita na kaya naming ay paglaban yung sarili namin bilang isang babae.
Nag-start po ako 2010 po dito. So 1 year old pa lang yung baby ko. Nag-family planning po na po ako. Yung panganay ko po, lalaki po siya. Tapos hanggang sa gusto akong mag-volunteer po dito. Tapos tinulungan ko yung mga kapitbahay namin mag-family planning din po sila. Kasi sobrang dami pong bata po sa amin. Mahal ko po kasi talaga yung Likhaan. Kasi malaki po talaga yung naitulong po nila sa akin. So gusto ko po iyan sa ibang pamilya na gawin din po nila yung ginagawa po namin para po hindi po sila mahirapan sa buhay.
Kasi yung tema sa hirap po ng buhay ngayon, sana po mag-isip yung mga karamihan ng mga kababaihan na sana maplano nila yung pag-aanak. Tayo yung magde-decide kung ano yung magiging future ng magiging anak natin.
So obviously you have passed on the legacy. For you, what do you see? How would you describe yourself in essence, your profile?
We called ourselves in the 1981 College of Medicine class as simple, groovy country doctors. And I think that really fits me very well, despite the work, I think I'm simple. I have very simple taste, very simple lifestyle. Groovy because I love life. I love art. I love music. I love binge watching. So, yun simpleng ano, but that makes me really happy.
Yeah.
And then country because yes, I think in our class many of us chose to stay here.
So Pinoy pride, you're also giving back to them, apart from loving your country.
Well, because I think because we all came from UP, we also are obligated to give back.
Well, thanks for all you do, and thank you for inspiring us, Dr. Junice Melgar.